Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. Yesterday, the 27th of February, 2026, the jury in the matter styled as Scofield versus Guillard, the Idaho4 defamation case, returned a $10 million verdict in favor of Plaintiff Scofield. I have published the verdict as well as the minutes from the last day of trial on our sister YouTube channel. I've provided a link in the description to this podcast episode. According to the minutes, the day 4 of jury trial commenced at 8:29 a.m. Outside of the jury's presence, the court took up the defendant's motion to disqualify juror number 13. The plaintiff objected to that motion. The court denied the defendant's motion as stated on the record. However, the record has not yet been published onto the docket in the case. Once it is, we will of course notify you, but the bottom line is that the defense motion to disqualify juror number 13, where she raised what appears to be First Amendment grounds, religious issues, was denied at the start of day 4 of the trial. Then, according to these minutes, at 8:40 a.m., the court questioned the jurors. It also states that juror number 13 advised the court information appeared on social media. The jurors were excused and juror number 13 was questioned. And then thereafter, the plaintiff rested her case. At 8:49 a.m., the jurors were present, and the defense began with her case. She had named just one witness, and that was herself. She testified, according to these minutes, on her own behalf. There were various defense exhibits, according to these minutes, that were offered. Some were objected to, overruled. That meant that they were admitted into the record. Others were offered and admitted without any objection to the other side. And if you go on to page 2 of the minutes, you will see that the defense rested. At 11:20 a.m., the jurors were present. So that tells us that the defense's case was not all that long. The jurors were then advised of post-proof jury instructions, and both sides presented their closing arguments to the jury. At 12:33 p.m., the court gave final jury instructions, and bailiff was placed under oath at that time. The jurors were excused to deliberate at 12:40 p.m. And thereafter, the court advised the parties that the jurors had reached a verdict. The jurors were present again in the courtroom at 2:47 p.m. Juror number 15 was the foreperson and read the verdict. And the jurors were excused at 2:56 p.m. So according to these minutes, this verdict was reached relatively quickly. And what does it say? According to the 2-page verdict form, question number 1, do you find by a preponderance of evidence that defendant's false statement that plaintiff had an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student damaged plaintiff? And the answer is yes. Question 2, state the amount of compensatory damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff had an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student. And the answer here, $1 million. Question number 3, do you find by clear and convincing evidence that defendant's false statements that plaintiff had an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student warrant punitive damages? And the answer here is yes. Question number 4, state the amount of punitive damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff had an inappropriate romantic relationship with a student. The answer here, $2,500,000. Going on to page number 2 of the verdict form, question 5. Do you find by a preponderance of evidence that defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the unalivings of 4 students at the University of Idaho damaged plaintiff? And the answer here is yes. Question 6. State the amount of compensatory damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the unalivings of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Answer, jury returns a verdict here of $1.5 million. Question 7, do you find by clear and convincing evidence that defendant's false statement that plaintiff orchestrated the unalivings of 4 students at the University of Idaho warrant punitive damages? And the answer is yes. And then in question number 8, we see that the bulk of the damages are here. Question 8. State the amount of punitive damages related to defendant's false statements that plaintiff orchestrated the unalivings of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Response by the jury, $5 million. And then it states, have your foreperson sign and date the special verdict form and advise the bailiff. And this is dated the 27th of February, 2026. The name of the foreperson has been redacted. So here we see the conclusion of the matter styled as Scofield versus Guillard, with a $10 million damages verdict, half of which, $5 million of which, had to do with punitive damages awarded per count 1. Remember, the complaint was for 2 counts of defamation. Count 1 alleged that the plaintiff was defamed by the defense's false statements that she had culpability, responsibility for the crimes at 1122 King Road. Second claim for defamation, that plaintiff had been defamed by the defense's statements alleging that she was involved in a romantic relationship with one of the students. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone. Thank you for joining us here today.